The Jewish Channel's Week in Review, the murders in France, and what we now know about the suspect who said he was affiliated with Al-Qaeda, big names in Jewish feminism, big names in Israeli and Palestinian music, and more of the Jewish news that's changing your world right now in this episode of the Week in Review. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. The killing of 3 Jewish schoolchildren and a rabbi after the same man shot several members of the French military led to a 30-hour standoff with French police last week, at the end of which the suspect, Mohamed Merah, jumped out of an apartment window and was shot by police. The 23-year-old Merah was suspected of being the masked motorcycle-riding gunman who killed those 7 people in France and told police he was. Born and raised in France, Merah embodied the surprising to Westerners example of a homegrown terrorist. He reportedly had 15 convictions as a juvenile delinquent in France for crimes including theft and driving violations. Raised a Muslim, Merah claimed during the shootout that he was a member of Al-Qaeda and that he killed the Jewish victims to avenge the deaths of Palestinian children and French soldiers because of French involvement in the war in Afghanistan. Merah visited Afghanistan in 2010 and Pakistan in 2011. During the standoff with police, Merah boasted to police of having been trained by Al-Qaeda in Waziristan, Pakistan. Merah had visited many countries across Eurasia in recent years and even visited Israel, where he was reportedly held by authorities briefly and had a knife taken from him by Israeli authorities. It was that trip that reportedly first brought Merah to the attention of French authorities. Merah grew up with terrorist connections. His stepfather recruited Al-Qaeda members to fight in Iraq, and he was convicted in a French court in 2009. Merah's brother had been a terrorist suspect, never charged, but he's now charged as an accomplice in his brother's killings. The picture coming to light in the Merah case is one in which terrorist networks are having increasing success recruiting Muslims in the West. Merah bragged to police of other Frenchmen training with him, and his brother had reportedly been involved in a network that recruited jihadists from Belgium and France. Merah reportedly also had connections with a pro-Al-Qaeda French group of between 30 and 100 members in size that was outlawed in France just 2 months ago for recruiting French jihadists to fight in Afghanistan. All of this suggests that Merah is no anomaly as a Western or French-born jihadist, and that we might be hearing more from his associates and their networks in the future. As it happens, we may actually hear from Merah himself in the future. Initial reports of Merah's shootings said he appeared to have a video camera around his neck at the time. Authorities have confirmed that he did in fact have an HD video camera optimized for documenting sports, and that he did record the shootings and spoke to the camera in preparing to produce videos of his killings. The footage was sent to Al Jazeera in Paris on a USB flash drive, which Al Jazeera has handed over to police. The Arabic broadcaster has said it will not air the footage. Of course, no one knows if another copy of the footage exists. Elsewhere in Europe, there's news of increased tolerance for Jews as the city of Frankfurt, Germany, has elected its first Jewish mayor since 1933. The previous Jewish mayor had served for 9 years before being removed from office when the Nazis came to power. But Jewish influence has been waning in Turkey, which has increasingly presented itself as a foe of Israel's, and now a shampoo company has decided the best way to sell its product to Turkish citizens is with Hitler as a spokesperson. Here's that advertisement.
Kadın elbisesi giymiyorsan kadın şampuanı da kullanma. Artık %100 erkek şampuanı Biomen var. Erkeksen Biomen kullanırsın.
Jewish leaders in Turkey have reached out to the company to complain and reportedly been rebuffed and told the ad was humorous. Here in the United States, there's bad news for the Jewish community, but this one's self-inflicted. Rabbi David Avigdor is reportedly the longest-serving pulpit rabbi in New Haven, Connecticut, and now he's the last member of a mortgage fraud ring to go down. Avigdor pleaded guilty last week to 1 count of making a false statement on a mortgage form. He faces a maximum of 1 year in prison and a maximum potential fine of $100,000. The conspiracy had involved 14 members and defrauded government and private lenders out of $4.75 million. The rabbi used his status as a lawyer to assist in these transactions. Avigdor is surrendering his law license for 1 year and has agreed not to represent parties in a real estate closing ever again. Avigdor had previously been the only one of the 14 co-conspirators to avoid a guilty verdict at trial after taking the stand in his own defense. Facing a possible retrial, Avigdor admitted his guilt on a single charge. As we went to air, Avigdor was still prominently displayed as the rabbi on his congregation's website. But if crime was the resort of a long-serving rabbi, cheating is apparently rife among those hoping to be rabbis. Israeli police announced they suspect at least 5 rabbinic students of cheating on rabbinic exams by hiring others to take the tests for them. Israel's Rabbanut exam, given annually to 2,500 students, is notoriously difficult, and rumored stories have existed for years of students hiding Jewish reference works in the bathroom to help them pass, and other cheating methods. But Israeli police now believe that there is now a wide network of cheating on the exams with test takers. The hired test takers caught recently told Israeli police that they were paid a shekel equivalent of around $2,000 apiece. At least one of the students said it wasn't his first time being hired to take the tests. Of course, one thing Jewish criminals and rabbis have long had in common is that they both wear suits. And along the way, some Jewish tailors have become legendary for their work, as Meredith Gansman reports.
Forget your mother's power suit. Self-dubbed Tailor S's, Asia Singer and Anna Zaman of the New York City-based clothing brand Alex and Eli specialize in high-end, hand-tailored, and customizable suiting for women.
I'm wearing a dress under my blazer, and right now Anna's wearing jeans with her blazer, and this is kind of the modern suit.
And despite constant changes in fashion trends, a hand-tailored suit is timeless, they say.
For girls our age and women, younger women, it's to have something that it's an investment that's not just, a designer purse or a designer shoe, but a piece of clothing that is going to make them look polished, that they can wear to work and have for generations. I don't even think that that's something that people our age are even thinking of.
The extent that young women like Singer and Zaman are thinking about classic suiting at all can be at least partly attributed to the influence of a Jewish octogenarian across the river in Brooklyn.
Hand-tailored is no longer something you typically see on a clothing label, but at Martin Greenfield Clothiers in Brooklyn, New York, they've been making suits handmade for over 60 years.
On the factory floor all day, dressed in a suit every day. At 84 years old, Martin Greenfield is the founder of the menswear company, Martin Greenfield Clothiers. He has spent the past 65 years dressing men in handcrafted, meticulously made suits, a profession for which he was not originally suited.
My father wanted me to be a doctor, because in Europe when a child is born, and I was the firstborn, so right away they decide what you're going to be.
Born in the former Czechoslovakia, Greenfield came to the United States after surviving the Holocaust. As a prisoner in the Auschwitz concentration camp, he worked for the Gestapo in the alterations department. One day, after he accidentally ripped an SS officer's shirt,
they threw it at me, and I was the only guy that had a shirt, so everybody thought I was something special. So I knew then how important it is to dress, and from then on I still dressed.
In 1947, Greenfield arrived in New York and found work as a floor boy with the clothing manufacturer 3G Clothing.
My boss said he was going to make me a suit doctor. So I guess that's what I became, they say so.
To see more from inside Martin Greenfield Clothiers, tune into the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Meredith. As we close out the month of March, which is Women's History Month, Rebecca Honig-Friedman reports on a gathering of some of the most prominent Jewish feminists.
March is Women's History Month, and a perfect time for the Jewish Women's Archive's annual award luncheon. This year, they're honoring 3 Jewish women for not only making history, but making trouble. At the Making Trouble, Making History Awards luncheon, feminist icon and awards presenter Gloria Steinem shared the story of one of her own troublemaking inspirations, her Jewish grandmother, an educator and mother of 4 sons who kept a kosher home.
In addition to those things, she was the first woman ever to be elected from the state of Ohio. And before women had the vote nationally, she was elected to a school board. And why? Because she organized together with the anarchists and the socialists. They never told me that part.
In a ceremony held at the Museum of Jewish Heritage in Lower Manhattan, Steinem presented awards to 3 Jewish women who, like her grandmother, have agitated on behalf of women and social justice. Letty Cotton Pogrebin, a founding editor of Ms. Magazine and author of 9 books, including Deborah, Golda, and Me. Elizabeth Sackler, a social activist and philanthropist, known especially for founding the Elizabeth A. Sackler Center for Feminist Art at the Brooklyn Museum, and journalist Rebecca Traister, who writes about women and politics for Salon.com and is the author of Big Girls Don't Cry, the election that changed everything for American women. All the honorees cited Judaism in one way or another as a source of their troublemaking tendencies.
Judaism is absolutely the wellspring of everything I do on behalf of women or on behalf of social justice.
Completely. It's the very foundation, the culture from which I come.
Traister, the child of a Jewish father and non-Jewish mother, said she grew up without religion, but identified culturally as an outsider, having been the only Jewish kid in an Irish Catholic neighborhood.
Which I do think is the basis of a curiosity about social progress and social shifts in this country. More people who didn't used to have power beginning to get a little bit of that power.
While the JWA seeks to share the stories of all Jewish women who've made a difference, not just those who identify as feminists, Executive Director Gail Reamer said that in choosing to honor women for making waves rather than behaving themselves, JWA is sending a very specific message about its image.
People think archive and they usually tend to think about some basement with musty papers. We've never been that, and we wanted to reflect in these awards who we are and the kind of women that we really admire and who will inspire future generations.
For more on the Jewish Women's Archive's Making History, Making Trouble Awards, watch the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Rebecca. Finally, female togetherness can often transcend national and ethnic boundaries, even those plagued by violence. Christian Ian reports on two famous singers from either side of the Israeli-Palestinian divide touring together.
Two unique voices recently filled the home of jazz at Lincoln Center with a harmony that was about more than two Israeli singers making sweet music together on stage. That's because one singer, Achinoam Nini, is Jewish, and the other, Mira Awad, is Arab. The two women have been performing together around the world to share their vision of an Israel in which Jews and Arabs coexist peacefully. And in New York, that meant a performance on the Upper West Side. Two voices, one vision, Noah and Mira in concert. As the singers prepared for the show, they shared their thoughts about what it means for a Jew and an Arab to sing together.
Well, there's no way that you can avoid the fact that people will cling on to the symbolism behind what we do. And it is beautiful. It is inspiring and hope-inspiring to see two musicians such as ourselves coming from different backgrounds, both Israeli citizens with living in Israel but representing two different populations which still have to come to terms with each other. We have come to terms with each other.
We know it's complicated. We know the pain that is around. We know that we know all the history, all the pain, all the hurt that's been going on till now. We believe in a tomorrow, and we sometimes feel, we're accused of being naive, but we really insist on believing that there should be a tomorrow.
That message was delivered during a performance to benefit the Abraham Fund initiatives, and Mira highlighted the organization's work to create a cultural dialogue through shared language.
Because all Arabs speak Hebrew. And when you speak a person's language, you have a window into their lives, into their culture, into their way of thinking. When you don't, then it's a bit of a mystery there, and there's a lot of suspicion coming from not understanding one's language. So I think that kind of a step is so important in its everyday value.
And on this day, both Noah and Mira sang in a variety of languages.
Mira sings in Arabic and in English. I'll be singing in English, Hebrew, and Yemenite. And then we'll sing together at the end our own original compositions, things that we've done together, in English, Hebrew, and Arabic.
To see more from Two Voices, One Vision, Noah and Mira in concert, please tune into the full broadcast edition of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Christian. That's all for this week from all of us here at The Jewish Channel. Be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable. Time Warner Cable Channel 528, IO Optimum Channel 291, RCN Channel 268, Bright House Channel 330, Verizon Fios Channel 900, Cox Channel 1, Frontier Communications, and now on Comcast Cable in the on-demand menu under Premium Channels. For more information, visit tjctv.com.